You know, we're we're nearing the end of the Obama presidency, and we're seeing every day we just saw more and more happen. I want you guys to jump in here, and I don't know, Carl, you're supposed to be our new guest today.
I'm just honored to be here. I'll be
Michael's our co-host, so you can jump anytime you want, Michael. It seems like Obama's doing more than he did before. I think for the whole 8 years, it seems like the last 8 months or 8 weeks even, he's doing all kinds of things. And he's, the Russia thing, he's sending troops to the Russian border. They're trying to blame Russia on our election. What do you think's going on?
Listen, the United States relationship with Russia is a complex one, and it goes way back, Cold War days, et cetera. But bringing it more up into the administration of our time, the Obama administration, I kind of trace it to this, and I know it's much more complex than this, but I trace it to this. Arab Spring was brought about by a consortium of sources, and I believe demonic as well. But we do know that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, were directly involved in it, whatever you want to call it, initiating it, being a part of it. I mean, listen, major media bragged about it and lauded it in the early days and gave them credit for it, and they took credit for it. So that can't be denied. One of the results, a lot of horrendous results came out of Arab Spring, but one of them was the absolute, indescribable, and world leaders call it unsolvable civil war in Syria, yes, which was a major ally of Russia. That's Russia's only Middle Eastern naval base is in Syria. Plus, Syria was one of their largest purchasers of arms and other supplies and equipment that Russia would make and Syria would purchase. And the next thing you know, Syria is collapsing. ISIS is moving in, or various factions of Islamic extremism. It wasn't just ISIS. A lot of people don't know that. I think I write about that in my book. Yes, I do write about that in this book.
But they have sold they'd sold the world that that democracy was taking place.
Well, that's what they had sold to the world, but that's not what the end result was.
We keep going through these lies all the time.
That's right. It's continual. And so let me make this quick. I'm sorry, but the bottom line, it's very complex. But the bottom line is now. So now you've got Russia who comes to the Middle East, plants itself in Syria, makes alliances with Iran and China, for self-preservation. They're trying to keep the overthrow of the president of Syria, and Obama saying, no, he needs to go. Russia saying, no, we're going to protect him. So that's where the standoff in our relatively recent time, I think, really started. So in the meantime, I think Obama and the radical leftists truly believed Hillary Clinton was going to win this thing and that the globalist agenda was going to march forward. But now the guy that wins it, not only does he represent all of these other things we've been talking about, but he also represents, at least he says, a friendship with Russia. And so I think, I'm oversimplifying this, but I think what we're watching, Pastor Jim, is this man who's bent on destruction and bent on radicalism and bent against Americana. I think he's doing his best to keep it stirred up. I think he's provoking. And it may tie in to the biblical concept in Ezekiel 38 of Gog, Magog, and Persia connecting and being drug along into being provoked. I will drag you by your jaw with a hook into this. I think we might be seeing some of that unfolding right now. One of my good friends in Israel, I was telling you before the show, who lives in Israel, born in Israel, raised in Israel, he's a born-again Christian. He said that's the talk on the streets in Israel, is they're watching this happen. The expulsion of the Russian diplomats, the venom towards Russia from Obama, the putting troops on the borders. And in Israel, on the streets, they're saying, oh my gosh, we are watching Russia being dragged into a Middle Eastern war. and they're saying it looks like Ezekiel 38 is right before our eyes. That's just been in the last couple of days. That's my quick assessment of it. Believe it or not, that's my quick assessment of it.
That's excellent. Amazing.
Michael Snyder, what do you think, what he had to say? Comment on what he said.
I very much agree with Carl. And, you know, I would use the word malicious, because when presidents usually leave, usually they're just trying to wrap things up.
Yes.
They're called lame duck. And so they kind of step back, let the other guy come in, and you don't introduce new things like Obama, all these new rules and regulations all of a sudden, which Congress is now coming in and saying, hey, we just want to overthrow all these rules and regulations, which Obama's been throwing at us right here at the end, because traditionally this hasn't happened. Or this thing with Russia, where he's trying to stir up Russia, provoke Russia, or pay back Russia. That goes on with being malicious. That's the word I'll be using for this. Now, Carl, the most malicious thing of all that Barack Obama has done, less than 30 days to go in his presidency, December 23rd, right before Christmas, Barack Obama took the mask off, and he showed that how anti-Israel he really is. Yes. In case anybody was wondering if he was the most anti-Israel president in all of U.S. history,
now we know.
He took the mask totally off. No more pretending, because there's nothing left to lose. The election is over. And so what we just seen is the worst decision in Barack Obama's entire presidency. And what we just saw was the biggest betrayal of Israel in the history of the United States, and what I believe is the greatest and most important event in Bible prophecy in more than 40 years. And I want to ask Carl about this, because Carl, if you really want to upset a man, and you'll identify with this, if you really want to upset a man, you mess with his home and his family.
Yeah.
Now, I know you love Israel.
I do.
And, you know, the family of Jesus is the Jewish people.
Right.
His home, that's the land of Israel.
Right.
And his city, Matthew 5:35 says it's the city of the great king.
Right.
But now we're seeing the United Nations go after Israel, go after Jerusalem. Do you think that God is pleased with this, or what's your perspective on this?
We know what the Word of God says about this. Not only is he displeased, I imagine he is furious with this, because what we saw, as you said, this provocation, malicious was the word you used. I think it was a malicious provocation and a malicious affront to not only Israel and to the Jewish people, but to evangelical Christianity at the same time. I think it was a twofer. I really, because of our connection, we're all a part of that same family, and in the faith, and for him to do that, because evangelical Christians, born again, spirit-filled Christians, we know that Israel is God's sign to the world. The clock started, as you said before. This is profound, and for the United States, one of the greatest friends of Israel, the greatest friend of Israel, for the leader to take that shot, to abstain from that Security Council vote, which was basically just leaving them open to the wolves, was horrendous and prophetic. And so, yeah, I probably have said too much, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things I appreciate about Carl is Carl's a defender of Israel. He loves Israel, he's written about Israel, and we're offering 3 books today, one of Carl's books. And you know what? If you come to my home in North Idaho, my wife and I, we kind of live in the middle of nowhere. So what we do is we collect teaching materials, the best of the best from all over the world, to feed us right up there in the mountains of Idaho. So if you come to my home and you walk into my library, you're going to find books by Carl Gallups.
Oh, thank you.
Because I love this guy.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Michael.
So if you don't have these books that we're offering today, I encourage you to get them. We're offering 3 of his books for $35. That's crazy. It's an incredibly good deal.
I don't think I can get them for that.
Exactly.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So I encourage you to do that. But and we won't need to talk about these books some more in a minute, but Carl, I wanted to bring up to you, because we just saw this UN Security Council resolution, UN Security Council Resolution 2334, never would have passed without Barack Obama, because the U.S. has veto power on the UN Security Council, and it's been the policy of the U.S. government since the days of Ronald Reagan
upon which Israel has relied.
Yes.
They have relied upon us for that veto power. Go ahead, I'm sorry, but you're right.
It's very true. And so we've been the protector of Israel all this time until December 23rd.
Right.
Now, what I'd like to do is read just a couple lines from this resolution,
Yes.
because if people
Yes.
have not seen this resolution, you need to read this, because this is one of the
need to
most
hear this.
important documents
Yes.
of our time. It only takes a couple minutes to read, but people don't understand, because they heard in the news where the UN is saying, hey, the UN doesn't like Israeli settlements. We heard about that in the news, but it goes so much more than that. Because, I used to be a lawyer. And
Yes.
so it's not what people say, but it's actually what's in the document.
Right.
So I just want to read a couple of lines, and then I want to get your response on this.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
So if you look at, I've highlighted a couple lines here. Now, the UN Security Council, one of the things they said is that their policy that, quote, that the Middle East will be, quote, a region where two democratic states, Israel and Palestine, they actually give it a name, Israel and Palestine live side by side in peace within secure and recognized borders. But it goes beyond that. Let me move down to paragraph 1. And the Security Council goes on, quote, the establishment by Israel of settlements in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, has no legal validity and constitutes a flagrant violation under international law and a major obstacle to the achievement of the two-state solution. So it says that, and there's about 600,000 Jewish people living in the East Jerusalem and the West Bank. One more, and then I'm going to get your response. Here we go. Okay, and this is the kicker for me. Paragraph 3 of the resolution, quote, the Security Council, quote, will not recognize any changes to the 4 June 1967 lines, including with regard to Jerusalem, they're specifically mentioning Jerusalem again there, other than those agreed by the parties through negotiations. So not only are they saying there's going to be two states, future tense, not only are they saying, hey, we're dividing up the land, but they're saying, Israel, you get what was before, what you had before 1967, the rest, who does it belong to? The Palestinians. I mean, to me, this is unprecedented. So Carl, what do you think about what I just shared?
Do we have an hour? It is unprecedented, it is ungodly, it is unbiblical. The Lord of heaven will strike against it, and his word promises that he will when somebody sets out to divide the land of Israel, particularly in the last days, when his witness, the returned Israel, is there. But this is the same group of Israel-hating, America-hating, radical Islamic promoting. This is the same group that said that the Temple Mount, there never was a temple on the Temple Mount, and it never belonged to the Jews. I mean, this is a revisionism of history. It's a rewriting of truth, and it's an absolute demonic outpouring attack in the last days against God's boom number 2. There is Israel. And the radical leftists, the God haters, the demonic realm, the globalists, they hate what Israel stands for. They hate its presence. They want it gone. And this is why this continual revision of history about, well, we need the Palestinians, I mean, they need their nation back. They've never had a nation there. The word Palestinian is a misnomer as well. We all know that. We've talked about it. It's all a lie. Wrapped in a lie, wrapped in deceit, boiled in a pot of more lies. But it's being pushed off by the United Nations, this illustrious organization, as the new truth of the day. So that's what I think about it. It is an absolute lie. It's an absolute demonic affront and attack on the nation of Israel sitting in the Middle East, which is the center of geopolitical affairs of our global history, unprecedented in human history till now. We're the generation to see it, and it represents the witness of Yahweh God. There it stands.
So if you're Donald Trump, Barack Obama has done this. And the word of God says those that bless Israel will be blessed, those that curse Israel will be cursed. Barack Obama has done this. Donald Trump's about to become president. If you were Donald Trump, what would you do?
I'm on the phone with the prime minister saying, hold on, it's going to be different. Hang on, 16 more days, 15 more days now. What is it, 14 more days? Hang on, we are a friend to Israel. Hang on. That's one of the, do you agree? I mean,
I very much agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we need more people like Carl Gallups, more leaders that are willing to stand up for Israel. We need to support men like him. And so, you know, we've got this amazing book deal today. Sasha, do you have those books over there? Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. I have them right here. When the Lion Roars, which is Carl Gallups' brand new book. This is an amazing book. We've been talking about just the outline of what's going on in the world and how he even started it off with just wanting to make a few bullet points of what God's doing in the world. And it's grown into this incredible book. So you can get this along with his book, Final Warning. This is the original book that Carl Gallups first came on the Jim Bakker Show.
Yes.
We talked about just what's going on and how is this all tying into Revelation events and how this is all coming together right now. So this is another book that comes in the offer, and then Be Thou Prepared. Another book by Carl Gallups, amazing book, just how to prepare the church. Where should we be at? Where should our hearts spiritually be at? And so these three books come together for a gift of $35 to the ministry.
Thank you.
And then along with that, make sure, no matter what you order today, make sure you call and just ask for Jim's historic interview with Ronald Reagan. It says right here on the cover, this is an amazing interview, and it truly is a historic interview. So make sure you ask for this, and we'll send it with all of the books for $35.
Thank you. You know, the church has been rejoicing over this election. Much of the church, not all of the church, but I think the evangelical church has. And yet, we're seeing almost war. I have never seen America in a civil war. Have you?
No, we haven't been alive.
We read about it, didn't we?
Right.
And we never dreamt there could ever be a civil war again.
Right.
But we're seeing America literally in a time that we could have a civil war in the United States of America. We're talking about nationality coming against nationality. We're talking about young and old. We're talking about Hollywood literally calling for the death of our president to be.
Don't go away. We've got a special offer just